Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Internship. And in this video, I want to talk about why I don't have the desire to work with most people. And so one of the things I've come to find out is that most people don't believe in win-win situations. And in order to succeed in a field like real estate investing, you have to always think about the win-win, right? So one of the most common scenarios you're going to face is that in order for you to make money, you're going to have to buy a discounted house, okay? Now, most sellers in general, like 90, let's say 6% of sellers, are not going to sell their house at a discount because there's no need for them to. They're probably not in distress, but there is a small percentage of them who might give you a $50 to $100,000 discount for their house because they have a challenge and they're willing to give that discount. And usually you have to think about what is in it for you and what is it for them. And if you're really good at this, they'll understand that, hey, I'm going to give you a $100,000 discount in exchange for a peace of mind. That's really the win-win, right? And it took me a long time to figure out that most people don't think like this. And not only do they not think like this, they actually hate it. It took me a long time to figure out that most people hate win-win situations. And so I'm going to tell you a story of a prospective tenant that I had back about 2 years ago where when I first met him, he was trying to point out everything wrong with my house. And then, like, oh, yeah, yeah, look at all this, blah, blah, blah. And then he thought he'd get a discount. And then, he was like, oh, yeah, you need to hold the house for me. I was like, well, I'm going to charge a holding fee if you're going to do that. And then, he was complaining like, "Why do you have to charge a holding fee?" Well, I got my own expenses like gas, tax, or utilities, taxes, insurance, and all that. And so, if you can't wait or you can't pay the holding fee, I'll rent it to somebody else. And what's funny is that the next week I did get a call from someone who said, "I'll pay you the entire year's worth of rent. Please rent it to me." Right? And so, what leverage does this person have other than me being super nice? But of course, if you know anything about me, I pretend to be nice and then I'll just find an excuse to reject you. So, okay. So the point is that this prospective tenant just didn't understand my needs, and he was trying to get everything for himself, and then realize, like didn't like come to his mind like why I would not rent to him, right? Like I got a mortgage to pay. Like this isn't just a thing where free money and you can like nickel and dime me as much as you want, right? Right? But the way that he was talking to me is like, man, if I make a little bit of money off of this, then it's like the worst thing ever. And it's like, yikes. No wonder there's so many tired landlords because there's too many stupid tenants, or at least prospective ones. And so you got to be careful with working with the vast majority of the population. I don't know if you know this or not, but this is something I learned from a business credit course I took a while back. That banks actually, 90%, I think, and this is really surprising to me because I feel like maybe like this isn't real, but or I'm misremembering or misquoting, but 90% of the business app credit applications that they get are like are fraud, and that's why they spend so much time and investment building these automated systems to prevent you from getting to the next level because most people lie, right? Like, I mean, think about all the social media and YouTube channels that encourage you to lie to get credit. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you to do is be honest. And if you get rejected for credit, use that as an opportunity to learn because most times the rejection letter is not today, but apply later unless you're blatantly fraudulent and try to scam a bank. But the way that I work is that if I work with somebody else, I'm always trying to think of the win-win, and it doesn't have to be money, right? Like it doesn't have to be necessarily money, but I always want people to know that yeah, if they work with me, they're not only going to get paid, they're going to get paid quickly. In fact, I'm working to get a HELOC right now for about $280,000, and every time someone from the credit union is asking for documentation or is calling me, you know how long, what time turnaround time I'm giving them? Probably like a minute or two. Like I'm literally giving them a minute or two to get in the required documents that they need because I want them to be motivated to work on my file or my case or whatever you call it and so that the turnaround time is as quick as possible. Because if I were in their shoes, I'd be like, oh shoot, this guy's giving me everything I need. Like the second that I call him, and I know if I work with him, I'm gonna get paid my commission or whatever, right? So that I'm always thinking about that. But man, I noticed that most people are like that prospective tenant, where all they do is complain and they act like I'm trying to scam them. And this is why, like, I don't want to work with most people, and I always think to myself, yeah, man, I really got to think like a bank. I really got to think like a bank where, like, I don't work with like 90% of people at all. And then the 10% that I kind of want to work with, I got to really evaluate if I want to work with them or not, right? And that's because, and let me go back to this document right here. Most people, their mindset is they'd rather steal $1 from you than make $1 million with you. Isn't that sad? And I kind of blame society in general and the school system as the culprit. And I don't know why I never like um, ever thought this way, right? Because the vast majority of people are like this, but I just, from a common sense point of view, it's like, oh yeah, win-win makes sense. But so many people are like, I gotta scam this person, and I gotta win, and they gotta lose, and it's like, dude, we both can benefit from the transaction, but so many people hate that. They get so annoyed, like. And you ever notice that if you ever try to sell products as an independent salesman, people get really bothered that you make commission, but that like, oh, you're gonna make money off of this, like, dude, what incentive do I have to sell and promote a product that you might be interested in? And again, I don't actually prospect. People come to me, but then they get bothered that, oh my goodness, I'm asking for money for whatever, right? And that's why I'm always like refining what I'm doing. And the worst part is I don't even need anybody's money, but when you see their reactions, kind of like the prospective tenant, it's like, what is going on? But the worst part is you could sell the exact same product at a cheaper price, and just because the person who's buying from you knows you, they don't want to make sure that, like, they'd rather buy someone else, like from a big corporation like Amazon, at a higher price, because they know that you're going to benefit, and they'd rather have you suffer, even though it's a product that they need, and then pay more somewhere else, right? That's the sad part, and that's kind of like my theory why we have so many awful products from China. No offense if you're from China, but even Chinese people like tell me this all the time. But rather than, like, a product that costs more in the USA but is of good quality, right? That's why the entire marketplace is filled with cheap Chinese products. And again, it's kind of sad that this is where we're at today in today's society, but I'm not the only one person who's ever talked about this. Like, I used to hear Adam Carolla complain about this like 20 years ago, right? So an example I always like to give is that, you have two situations where, hey, you can make $30,000 a year and everybody else makes $10,000 a year, or you can make $5 million a year and everybody else makes 10 million. Most people would choose this, right? And we're assuming that, in both scenarios the dollar is the same, right? Like the purchasing power is the same. So obviously, if you were here, you'd be in a better position. But because most people are comparison minded, they'd rather be here because they want to see other people suffer. Right? Isn't that sad? Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be the worst of the best than the best of the worst. But that's what society encourages, and people are always trying to tear each other down and act like, oh my goodness, like, you need money to provide goods and services. That's ridiculous, give me free rent, right? And that's why you should never be a landlord in one of those states like California and some parts of New York and probably Chicago and probably the city of Atlanta, right? And Miami. So there's a commonality between all those cities. I'm not going to say it here, but what I'm saying is that that's just the mentality of being of today's society. Whenever you try to offer products in the marketplace as an independent salesman, I don't, or independent distributor, people get like so bothered. Oh my goodness, you're gonna make money off of the sale of this product, and then they'll happily spend 3 to 5 times over with a faceless corporation that sells a worse version of the product because, again, people, they don't like the idea of win-win, and they'd rather have them win and you lose, even in the end if it's harming them, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, well, this is Crane Atlanta mentorship. So just another video for today. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.